Good afternoon. Is everyone staying warm today? There's a lot of weather out right now, a lot of bad weather, a lot of cold weather. Oh, it's so cold. We've had a lot of freezing temperatures this week. And there's been some storms. Thank goodness not right here around my home, but we've had a lot of storms and I think they're going to continue to keep coming. Oh, I'm so grateful for my house. So grateful that I can be warm and protected in my home. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way, that you have your home to protect you from those storms. Have you ever been in a really bad storm where you were scared? I mean, we live in Oklahoma and we get those, tornadoes, and then people on the coast get hurricanes. Sometimes those storms can be pretty scary. And that's what I want to talk about today. My name is Wendy. I'm a Dream Big Today. This is my noon nugget as I stay warm in my home. My home is my refuge from the storms. Not only is it my refuge from the storms, the physical storms outside, this is where I can come and be safe with the Lord. I have my private little place, my spot in my house. It's right there on my bed. That's my favorite place to be. I just curl up on my side of the bed under the blankets and I read the word. That's my prayer closet, right? That's my place. And it's such a beautiful, wonderful place of refuge for me. And as I was reading today, there was so many good things as usual. And I thought, oh, what am I going to talk about today? And as soon as I got to Matthew, Jesus was speaking. Sorry, I went the wrong way. And he says, we're looking at Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. Jesus said, anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rains come in torrents and the floodwaters rise and the wind beats against the house, it won't collapse because it is built on bedrock. But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish, like a person who built a house on sand. When the rains and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. My home was built by my husband. He built this home with his own two hands. And he's been in construction a long time. He knows a lot of people. He has a lot of connections. He has a lot of knowledge and skill. And it was kind of like an Amish barn raising where all of his friends, his family, they all just came, and his uncle helped him with the roof, and his dad helped him with the electrical, and friends came and helped him do, the sheetrock and the plumbing and all of these things, and our home was built. But that home had to start somewhere. It started with the foundation, and first he had to prep that soil, and then they had to pour the foundation. And that's what they built on. And I thought of the parable of the seed. You have to prepare the soil and plant the seed. And then once that seed is planted in that good soil, then it can start to grow, right? But you have to prepare the ground, and you have to have that initial planting or the foundation, right? And so I'm wearing my Dream Big Today shirt that Carrie made from the last retreat, and it shows a tree. Can a tree live without its roots? It has to have those roots that go down and grow strong. In order for roots to grow, they really have to dig in, and I'm sure it takes so much power and strength and energy beyond what we could ever even imagine to grow those roots. But without it, the tree would fall. Without our foundation, our homes would fall. Well, after about 20 years or so, things started happening in our home. Doors weren't closing quite right. We were getting little cracks in the corners of the doorways. We had a couple of earthquakes here a few years back, and we started noticing these little things. We started getting some cracks in the walls and some cracks in the ceiling, and we started realizing that something wasn't quite right. So my husband started looking, and because he's in construction, he gets his leveler and all these things, and we realize our foundation is beginning to sink a little bit. So we had to hire somebody to come and fix our foundation. And when they came, they started by digging a hole, which takes a lot of work. They had a crew that had to come and dig all these holes. I think they ended up having to pour like 11 piers is what they had to do, I think. Or maybe 7, I don't remember. But anyway, they had to dig all of these holes around our house on that end. And then once they got these big holes dug with shovels, a lot of work, then they have these cement blocks. They're round blocks, and they're about this big, about a foot, maybe not quite a foot tall, and the same kind of width around. And they put that in the hole, and they begin to hammer that down until it hits bedrock. And then they do another one, and another one, and another one, and they start pushing these cement blocks down until they hit bedrock to create a pier underneath our house to hold it up. Because our homes have to have that foundational bedrock to keep it up and keep its integrity in place. And Jesus is our foundation. He is our refuge from the storm. We build our homes on that foundation, but sometimes over time, when the storms hit and the earthquakes shake, we start to get little cracks and doors don't start to shut quite right. And we have to say, okay, what's wrong? Is my foundation strong? And in order to fix that, we have to start digging in our hearts. And we have to really look deep in our hearts and say, okay, Lord, why am I getting these cracks? What's happening? Maybe I'm not as patient with someone, or maybe I'm not serving like I should, or maybe I'm entering into bad behavior, whatever those cracks might be that we start to see in our home. Maybe we're not loving the way we should, and the doors the doors of our heart aren't closing quite right. And God says, come to me. I want to help you fix it. But it does take time. We have to dig into our heart, and then we have to, piece by piece, we have to work really hard to get those cement blocks down to build that pier. Those cement blocks are the principles of the gospel. He says, anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise. Jesus will direct us on what we need to do. He will teach us along the way. And if we are willing to put in the effort, then line upon line, precept upon precept, brick by brick, block by block, he will shore our foundation with him. And if you're just beginning to build your home with the Lord, make sure you start with a good foundation. And things might happen along the way because of the storms of life. But the Lord will help us fix it. The Lord will help us along the way. Abraham built his foundation on the Lord. He started getting a little bit of cracks in his house when he was lying about things. Not intentionally directly lying, but definitely deceiving other people. And But he had a home built on a foundation. He was a prophet of God. But the little cracks started to appear, and he had to fix it. He had to fix it and do what was right. And so he went to the Lord, and he fixed it in his heart to the point where he had enough faith and confidence in the Lord that he was able to take his son up into the mount and was willing to offer his son, his only promised son, to the Lord. And then right at the last minute, the Lord provided. If he didn't have that ability, if he didn't have that foundation, he wouldn't have the ability to follow the Lord and do the things that he asked and be tremendously blessed at the end. In Proverbs, it talks about a house of a promiscuous woman. And it says, entering her house leads to death. Let's stay in our house with the Lord, where it's nice and safe and warm and cozy. And he will be our refuge, and he will help us along the way. And if little cracks appear, he'll help us fix them, because he's awesome and he loves us. And we will be able to praise him in the end. I will praise you, Lord, Psalm chapter 9. I will praise you, Lord, with all my heart. I will tell of all the marvelous things you've done. You have fixed my foundation and all the cracks in my beautiful home, and I will be filled with joy because of you. My home will be filled with joy. I will be filled with joy. It will be my refuge from the storms, and I will sing praises to your name, O Most High. And this is my hope for you, and I hope you have a wonderful day and stay warm from the storms. And please leave your comments and your thoughts, and I will be able to get on and respond to those later. And I just thank you, and my heart goes out to you, and I pray that you have that